Well, hello there. Hi there. Apologies for the slightly late start. We had a bit of a technical glitch, but I'm glad you hung on and you waited for a bit. So, if you're joining us now, very welcome. And if you do have a question for us or for Chris, then please do pop your question in the chat below on your LinkedIn event page, and we'll be sure to pick it up as we go along there. So, quick intro about myself, Joyce Marketing Tech. So, we're a one stop shop for affordable mobile apps, SEO, and LinkedIn. So, I'm really pleased to have with me here in the studio today Chris Bantock from Agency Local. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Joyce. Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Thank you for being here. So, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, of course. Yes. So my my world is marketing and marketing agencies. I ran a marketing agency for 12 years. We grew that. We were full service. We did everything from marketing strategy, brand design, web development, e-commerce, and digital marketing. So grew that over a period of time, and opportunity came to sell the business in 2018, and so I followed that journey. Sold the business in 2018 and left in 2019. And having gone on those journeys of growing, running an agency, and then also the journey of going through the sale of a business, um, I felt I'd made enough mistakes, learned enough along those journeys to actually help other people that were going on those journeys. And that really is the focus of what I do now. It's really to help um, independent agency owners along their journey of growing, scaling, and developing their agency business.
That's great. So, you've been there, you've done that, you got the t shirt, you even got the gray hairs to show
Got
for
the
it.
grey hair, got the scars. Yes, got everything.
So a couple of arrows sticking on your back, as they say.
Indeed.
Yes. Okay. So how did we met? How did we meet, Chris? I guess we met last year, wasn't it, or the year before? So I'm part of Chris's community, agency local community, and I've actually joined Chris's 90-day planning program earlier this year. So part of the reason I joined this program, and I'll explain why, because it's kind of related to what we're talking about today about overwhelm, content overwhelm there. So I was drowning in advice. There's a bit of a sound in the background. I'm not sure if you heard that. So as I was saying, I was drowning in advice from coaches, from gurus, from all corners on how to run my business. What's the best way to run my business? And some advice I could action, some was just too much too soon. It wasn't really the right sort of advice for me at that point in time. So it wasn't immediately actionable. And others was just plain outdated advice, just plain wrong. So I was overwhelmed, let's just say. And there is a lot to be said about taking the time to plan, taking it a couple of steps at a time, asking for some feedback from peers, and also doing a sense check and have other people do a sense check and a progress check on our own plans.
Yeah.
And also finding out, more importantly, actually finding out where the mental blocks are and then being able to tackle them one at a time. And that's invaluable for me personally. So this feeling of overwhelm, I don't think it's just restricted to the advice that we receive as business owners. It's also about the content that we consume in general on a day-to-day basis there. So Chris believes that we are all drowning in content. Some are really good content, some dubious at best, and some are just plain wrong. So how do we know that what we are consuming is correct and it comes from a trusted source there? And now that we all know that AI tools do exist and we can use them, AI tools can simply just add to all that noise that we are already facing. And yet, Chris thinks that there are people that we follow and we know who they are that we do follow, and we will hang on to every word that they say. So why do you think that's the case, Chris?
there's a lot to unpackage there. I mean, I think, yes, we are all drowning in content. That's been fueled by all the different channels that we have at our disposal. It's the digital marketing route to generate content, to put it out there, to show people what you do, how you do it, and to promote yourself that way. But like you said, very eloquently at the beginning, where do you turn to for advice? What advice do you actually which advice do you believe? Which advice do you trust? And I think a lot of this comes down to trust. Isn't it? And that's why I think people, once that trust is built, then you gain a following. And it's great to read everything. We've not got enough time to read everything that's in front.
No.
Even if you're just looking at one channel, let alone LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You've got all these channels, all this information. So, but that's why it's really important to sort of build a following and build a tribe. So people that trust what you're saying. So it's around building trust, and it's a lot of hard work going out there marketing yourself in that way. So there's a lot of different skill sets needed. It takes a lot of time to do it. So if it takes a lot of time, you've got lots of different skill sets like content writing, design, video these days, and a lot of it isn't actually being read. Is that a good way to spend the time? But it is literally around, to me, I think people go out there and play the algorithm. They play the algorithm game, oh yeah, this LinkedIn guru says I need to post on LinkedIn every day. Do you really? The amount of effort and time it takes to generate content, to post every day, to play the algorithm, to get more visible, to get seen. Whereas, this is where sort of communities come into play, because you have trusted source of advice and guidance. It's just a really interesting concept about the amount of content that's being generated. It's drowning, and as you rightly say, AI, it's just adding fuel to the fire.
Yeah, that's right. Faster. It's moving at an even faster rate in terms of content.
So where do people go to get trusted content? Trusted advice and guidance. It depends what you want content for. Do you want it just to expand your knowledge?
Yeah.
Or do you want to use that knowledge into, really trying to make a difference to either yourself, so personal skills, or in your business, so business skills.
So let's talk about this content overload. So for businesses who are looking, like myself, who are looking to invest in services, for example, in marketing. So I'm looking for some sort of marketing service. I keep hearing that scratchy background. Do you hear it?
Nope.
Okay, something's really, really scratchy. Never mind. If you don't hear it, then I'm hoping the audience won't hear it as well. So we're talking about content overload. So what does this mean if businesses like me, I'm looking to invest in services, in marketing, or whatever other services there might be. So I'm looking to grow my own business. How do I know who I should be trusting? What's one way for me to find out who I can really trust from my point of view as an agency myself?
I think it's a very key question, because I think a lot of businesses really don't know how to select agencies.
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot of agencies out there that
That's right.
that are really good at what they do,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, how do people select, agency one from agency two from agency three? They're all focusing on their specialisms and how to sort of how to implement that to help clients ultimately get visibility, driving brand, driving leads and inquiries, because that's essentially what a lot of businesses want and need. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's it is very difficult. I mean, for businesses, it comes down to working out what is their marketing strategy, and it always starts with strategy. And it's understanding your audience as well, and and this is for agencies as well as businesses. So understand who you're trying to talk to and who you're trying to attract, and having a strategy around that, and then finding people with the right skill set to be able
Mm-hmm.
to deliver that. If it is a content strategy, then brilliant. It could be a paid ad strategy. Then find somebody that does that. It's looking for those people. But look, I think
Mm-hmm.
businesses need to look at the credentials of an agency,
Mm-hmm.
get references, see who they're talking to. See who they've actually served before. Look at the results that they drive. Yeah. So I think choosing an agency is a real problem. But once you do get that right agency, the right partner, and
Yes.
businesses need to work with agencies as partners, as opposed to just seeing them as a supplier. You know,
Mm-hmm.
both agency and business are looking for the same result. So, get results by working together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's quite a common problem, isn't it? By just simply treating agencies as vendors. They're just a vendor. I pay them to deliver this, and therefore I'm just going to have a hands-off approach, and just let them do it. I just
Mm.
want to see the results. I mean, that's well and good. I suppose this is what everyone expects, but not being able to contribute to the conversation is problematic. It is problematic because I think I have been at the receiving end of that as well. Because, if we're not treated as a partner on a more equal footing, then um, we're not the business. We're also
Mm.
trying to gather information to try and understand the business and the people working in the business as best as we can. And, by having these communication channels open both ways, I think only that will help.
Definitely, and I'd see agencies as being advisors to businesses, you know,
Hmm.
and they need to be almost sort of agents of change,
Hmm.
because you know, we see how technology is just expanding at the rate of knots, and the impact that's having. Now, no business owner can keep up with all those different um, different developments, different changes in the way we do things. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, content marketing wasn't really a thing.
Yeah.
It was about advertising. It was about campaigns. Now
Hmm.
we've had this huge switch because of technology
Yeah.
into content marketing, and Michael's right in the chat. It's about building meaningful connections, and how do you do that?
Hmm.
Because you need to understand your tribe, understand who you're serving, as the god Seth Godin says, and
Sorry.
tribe, and build those connections, and those connections will build over time.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. So talking about building trust. So one of the ways of building trust for SME, so for myself, an agency. So one of the ways of building trust so that people will come to me rather than, like you said, rather than just posting on LinkedIn every day and hoping and praying. So, one of the ways of building trust for SMEs is through networking. So, that's one of the things that I would do to build some trust, or attending events to meet the people that I meet who are in my space, who could potentially build relationships with me and refer business to me, and vice versa. So, that's what we do on a B2B level. How different is that activity compared to joining a community?
Um, yeah, it's interesting because so Joyce, there's a comment in the chat about somebody's getting a lot of the noise that I think you're hearing that
Mm,
I'm not, but I don't know if
yeah.
that's a look at
Okay.
that. But yes,
Okay.
networking versus communities. Yes, it's interesting. I mean, some communities provide networking opportunities, and that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you know communities provide a lot more than just networking. So people go to events to network. You turn up, you go to you do what you do, and then you leave, and then that's the
Mm-hmm.
event done.
Yeah.
Yes, there are networking like I know that you're a big fan of BNI. So BNI
Mm,
is it's networking, but it's also a community as well because you meet regularly and it's a closed group. So I think there's a big difference between open networking and sort of closed networking.
yeah.
Um, and I think with communities have different focuses. So it can be around support. It could be around helping people get more business.
Mm-hmm.
It could be around helping them develop themselves personally. And often a community will have lots of different elements. So
Mm-hmm.
the value people get from being part of a community, I think, is a lot more than just pure networking. But I will say that actually, if you want to get the maximum value out of a community, you need to engage. You need to be part of that community. You need to be active, because that way you're going to get visible. You need to be supporting other people, and therefore people will support you. So gaining those trusted connections within a community,
Mm-hmm.
because communities will be like-minded
Mm-hmm.
people or like-valued people.
Yeah.
So, agency local, it's a community of like-minded agency owners, independent agency owners that are looking to grow their business.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they will have different skill sets. There'll be somebody that does video, somebody that does content, somebody that does brand. So there's lots of different skill sets, but there is a commonality that they're all looking to provide a service to clients, and they're all looking to grow and develop their business.
Mm-hmm. So
So
your sorry, Chris, you were,
no, go on.
yeah. So your community would be both an open and also a closed community. Am I right in saying that you
Yes,
offer
yes.
both? Yeah.
Offer both. Yes, we have a community. We use Slack for the communication part of the community, and that is open to any agency owner that would
Mm-hmm.
like to join. But then we have opportunities depending where people are on their journey
Yeah.
of their agency. So, for example, you mentioned the 90-day planning. Now,
Yep.
that's often a, a great first step to start really thinking about your business and
Mm-hmm.
having. Because one of the challenges most agencies have is that they spend all the time delivering,
Yes.
especially the smaller agencies, and
Mm-hmm.
they flip flop between the sales delivery,
Yep.
and spend very little time actually thinking about their business. And what the 90-day planning does is allows people that space to actually think about their business. What improvements am I going to make to my business in the next 90 days?
Yeah.
Um, you know, so that's a sort of a smaller group community within a community.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and there are the mastermind groups, etc., as well as part of that, all the way
Yes.
up to those agencies that are really want to focus on their business, working one-to-one with a guide. And I call a guide. Most people call it mentoring and coaching. I call it guiding.
Mhm. And there'll be yourself.
Myself
Yes.
or the other associate guides that are part of Agency Local.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Fantastic.
So
Mhm.
yeah, part of the agency local community, you've got access to experts in different disciplines. So experts in accountancy for agencies, experts in marketing for agencies,
Mhm.
experts in pitching for agencies.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm just going to stop there briefly, just to acknowledge people who have joined us early on. So there was Nidhi who was asking if the session was starting, and then we have Michael Rollinson. Welcome, Michael, if you're still there. Paul, Jessica as well. Unfortunately, I think the noise, the scratchy noise, may have persuaded him to leave the session, but hopefully in the replay we won't hear so much of that scratchy noise. So thank you and welcome for joining us here. So moving on, Chris. So can you share with us what are the benefits? The benefits of joining a community of people who are broadly in the same space, because yours is quite a niche community of agencies in that space. Obviously, we're each specializing in different things, but we're agencies. I think that's a basic requirement. We're part of your community of agencies. So, precisely what are the benefits? Thank you, Nidhi. You still there? Thanks for hanging on. Great insights. Really liking it. Okay, glad you're there. Chris, over to you.
Sorry, sorry, I was. What was the question?
Okay, the question was, what are your benefits? What are the benefits of joining a community of people who are in the same space, agencies,
Okay.
i.e.,
Well,
agencies? Yeah.
yeah, and this applies to all communities, not just agency communities at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think the first thing is that it's actually really lonely running your own business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if even if you've got people employed within your business, you're still the
Yeah.
leader, and it's you're in a different position. So having a community where you can actually talk to people and be part of a group has huge benefits. It's you're with like-minded, and I rather than like-minded, I prefer the term like-valued.
Mm-hmm.
People tend to join these things because they have the same needs. Um, what else? You get the knowledge and depending on the community and how they work, access to knowledge. It's a space. We all have challenges in our business. As much as we like to
Mm-hmm.
actually be perceived as this
Yeah.
swan that's gliding along happily, underneath we're paddling like mad, and
We
we're
are.
always getting challenges
Mm-hmm.
and bumps in the road. And
Yeah.
so having a community where you can be honest and open and go, look, I've got this challenge, it, and can anybody help?
Mm-hmm.
There are two things. One is if people go, oh yeah, I've got that challenge too.
Yeah.
That's as an owner, you go, oh, thank goodness, I thought it was just me. So
Mm-hmm.
that really helps.
Yeah.
Secondly, somebody go, yeah, I had that challenge and I did this and this, or people will chip in with ideas. So actually, having that support, those ideas to
Mm-hmm.
help people along the way get over those bumps in the road, those challenges that we have
Yeah.
on our business journey is actually huge. But
Okay.
also things like accountability. If you're going to say to the community, I'm going to do something, they can keep you accountable.
Yeah.
And again, that's one of the things around the 90-day planning
Yeah.
is that you say you're going to do something
Mm-hmm.
group, and when we come together on our monthly check-ins,
Yeah.
then you know you, you're not going to want to turn up and go, no, I didn't do that.
Or go, did I say that? And then you have other people remembering, oh, yeah, I do remember you said that last month. So I think that piece is that accountability
Yeah,
is really
yeah,
great. I do have an objection for that though, Chris. Um, I had I had a concern initially because if you're in a pretty close, tightly knit group of agency owners, you're bound to sort of share some information
mm,
about each other's business. Sometimes the information could be slightly confidential.
yeah.
How do you counteract
Okay.
that in within that environment?
Before I answer that,
Mm.
Deep's mentioned something in the chat actually,
Ah,
which I think is actually very true. There are communities that are just focused on business development and partnering and things like that.
yeah,
And that again is another big upside. There are opportunities where people can partner, they can transfer work between each other because they're part of the community. They trust people. So,
yeah.
for example, if an agency's got a client and that they're a brand agency, and
Mm-hmm.
they go, and their client goes, okay, well, we now need to redo the website, but the brand agency just does branding. They get that. What's better for them to go to the client and go, no, we don't do websites, or to go, we don't do websites, but our trusted partner here is excellent, and he will sort you, or she will sort you. Yeah. So there's that flow of business opportunities that also comes out of a community, and it's not just business opportunities, but it's partnerships as well. So that was just something to add to your previous question. Yes, the
Confidentiality.
confidentiality. Yeah, that there are two mindsets. You know,
Yeah.
there's the collaborative mindset, or there's the competitive mindset. And
Okay.
my personal feeling is if you come into a community with a competitive mindset, you won't get the value out of a community. Yeah, because you're going to be analyzing everything and being very closed.
Mm,
Whereas a community blossoms and grows when there is that trust built between people. Yeah. And
mm-hmm.
especially when you get into the sort of the smaller groups,
Yeah.
the sort of the mastermind type scenarios within
Mm-hmm.
within communities,
Yeah.
then Chatham House rules apply. And Chatham House rules means what's discussed within the group stays within the group.
Yeah.
um, we have I run a supper club for
Mm-hmm.
established agencies, and those, that is the rules. you know some of them are competing with each other,
Yeah. And yet they
um,
share
but
information.
yet they're sharing information,
Mm-hmm.
because nobody's a world dominating agency. There's enough clients out there for everybody. So if together they can help each other,
Mm-hmm.
then that's value. So, but you only get that value if you go in with a collaborative mindset, in my view.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There has to be a certain level of trust and a certain level of letting go, I suppose, and trusting that, everything is okay. You were sharing Chatham House rules. You would trust that people would keep to that.
Well,
Yeah,
trust is built on two scales.
yeah.
It's built on character and competence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? The character is where that honesty, that side of who you are, and the values that you portray comes into play. Yeah. The competence is whether you're good at what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, trust works on both those scales, and it's much easier to build trust based on competence than it is on character. Character
Mm-hmm.
takes time. So
Character takes time. Okay. Yeah, okay, that's a very interesting insight there. I think we have Needy with a question. If I can share that,
mm,
please, Chris, please do share insights on how to best leverage community engagement in the launch of a PR campaign?
Okay. I'm assuming the question is applying to a business launching a PR campaign as opposed to a community launching the PR campaign.
Mm.
Um, but again, if you've got a supportive community around you and you're launching a PR campaign, then get the community behind it. The community. If you look at network building, a community isn't just the people within the community, but it's who they know as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're launching thank you. If you're launching a PR campaign, then, get the community involved, you know,
Yes.
make, let
Mm-hmm.
them know what you're doing, see if they can help,
Mm-hmm.
get it out there. If you're doing I don't know, a PR launch, an event or something like that, leverage the community to get people there.
Yeah.
So, I think it's really important to, we have within the Slack community, we had a channel that was about people shouting out about other people, about promoting themselves. So somebody would post something in there going, oh, I've just put this blog up there, this LinkedIn post is part of a campaign. Could people put their comments on? And it's just leveraging. Without that like-minded community, you're just going out as you would do normally.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, that's a good point. I mean, leveraging on a community because there's already a certain level of trust there, and so there's a higher likelihood that they would support you as well. But I don't know if we talked about how to build trust within the community. You may have touched upon that, but how would you try to build some trust within the community? Say I'm a newbie, I've just joined. How do I build trust?
Um, it's building trust, same as you would outside a community.
Mm,
Back to the character and competence. It's out
mm,
there. Look at ways to support people,
yeah.
contribute to the overall community.
Mm-hmm,
Those things will get you visibility
mm-hmm,
and trust as well,
yeah.
and that helps build trust. If
Mm-hmm,
there are ways that you can get proof points and people, talking about you,
mm-hmm.
then because anything about branding, is what people say when you've left the room, and it applies to personal brands. So if you can get to know people within the community, and build the trust that way, and then people
Mm-hmm.
will start recommending you to other people within the community and without.
Yeah, yeah. So you talk about competence, building trust through competence, and building trust through character. So that's really, really interesting. So you are building trust through competence and character at the same time as well. Although you say that trust through competence is the easier way. Am I right in thinking? Is
um
the better
well,
way.
they work together.
They work
Okay?
together. Okay.
They work together.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
Competence is character is how you do things and how you go
Mm-hmm.
about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Whereas competence is about what you do and how well you do it.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So both ways. Oh, I think we have quite a few comments coming up now.
We do.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Chandeep, thanks for being here, Chandeep. So, Chandeep is selling agency local for you.
Yeah, I
Um,
know. He always does. Thank you, Sandeep.
oh dear. Chandeep has a question, I believe. Go back to the start of your journey. If you were to go back to the start of the journey with all the knowledge you've now acquired, what would you do differently, Chris? That's Chandeep's question for you.
That's a great question. What would I do differently? I think getting the right support at the right time, and
Yeah.
you as opposed to trying to solve all the
Yeah.
problems myself.
Hmm.
I didn't have the community well, that I'm creating with Agency Local, when I was running the agency. So,
Hmm.
getting that help and support, in whatever way, have people that you trust that you can go to for help and support. The other thing is I would invest in a guide. And now you might say, well, you would say that, wouldn't you, Chris? But I didn't have somebody that was dedicated on my shoulder helping me along that journey.
Hmm.
So that is the one thing I would definitely do differently.
Get a guide earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, that can really fast track your business, can't it?
It can
Um,
fast track. It gives you so much confidence as
hmm.
well in terms
Hmm.
of what you're doing. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Making sure that you're making the right decisions, doing the right thing,
Mm.
focusing on the right
Yeah.
issues as they come up.
Mm. I
So
mean, sorry, Chris. So, what would you say to people who say, well, yeah, I know I need a guide. I know I need a guide for that. I need a coach for that. I need a mentor for that, but I haven't got the money now. What would you say to that?
um, well, that's why the community is there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not everybody needs, wants, or really understands why or can afford. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
A guide. So that's why we have the groups.
Yeah.
And join a group. It could be a mastermind group, it could be a planning group, um, because they will give you a lot of the that confidence, help, support that you need. It may not be as targeted or as consistent as a
Mm-hmm.
as a working one-to-one with somebody,
Yeah.
but you will still get a lot of value from that.
Mm-hmm.
um, Other than that, it's joining a community and being open with your questions within the community, and
Mm-hmm.
getting support from those people that are within the community.
Mm-hmm.
Which within Agency Local, we have our partners, our expert partners in a business discipline. So every month we run within Slack, within the community, a Q&A session. So, I think the one coming up in September is all around HR. So
Mm-hmm.
anybody with any HR challenges, whatever, can come in, ask a question, and get direct access from the expert.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some of it is free, isn't it, Chris? I mean, it doesn't incur a subscription
No,
or
no,
a
no.
high ticket item. It doesn't always incur that. I think a lot of people have this misconception that coaches are very expensive and mentors very expensive. I don't think it's the case anymore.
Mm, mm. No, no, and there are ways of getting
Yeah,
access
different ways.
to
Yeah.
to that
Hmm.
to that expertise.
Yeah.
But what I would say is that certainly for agencies, if you're looking for a coach, doesn't matter what industry you're in,
Hmm.
but make sure that that person has experience of your industry,
Yeah.
and your business, because it will save a lot of time having to explain the nuances of that industry.
Absolutely. Okay, we're kind of running out of time because let's answer a couple of questions.
Rid-
There's really interesting questions coming
Ridley's
up.
got a good question.
Yeah, I love these questions coming in. Thanks,
And
guys.
what
So,
if I need to build a community from scratch? How should
yeah.
I go about it?
Hmm.
Um, Interestingly, you should go about it by, first of all, defining who it is you want in your community. Who are you serving as a community? Who's your target audience? Yeah? So that way, who are the people you want in your community? Who's in your tribe? If you were around a campfire, who would you invite in to sit around that campfire with you? So that's the first thing to really sort of be laser focused on that. Secondly, is if you want to serve them, really understand their problems,
Hmm.
what challenges and issues they're facing on their journey, and find ways that you can help them do that. Um, the building community, I won't lie, it's hard work. It's tough. People don't have time. Time is a valuable commodity, and that's what.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to provide the value for them to invest the time. So work out what that is.
Yes. So we have Andy Steer from your network. How do you gauge whether someone who applies to join your community is like-minded, Chris?
Hi, Andy. Nice to see you. Glad you could join us. Great question. Um, I think it comes back to what I was talking about mindset,
Mm,
and it's I've made a shift between talking about like-minded to like-valued. So it's people with the same values and the same mindset. So back to this competitive mindset or collaborative mindset.
mhm,
Um, and I think people will attract like-minded people. So it sort of builds by osmosis. If somebody isn't like valued, then they won't fit into the community. And to be
mhm,
honest, they won't get the value, but B, they won't last very long.
mhm.
So it's almost a self-vetting process.
It
So
will over
if
time,
you're
won't it?
building a community,
Mhm.
you you say what that community stands for,
Yeah.
what are the values, what it is that you're providing, and then you'll attract those like valued people. Hope
Mhm.
that helps, Andy.
Yeah. Thank you, Andy. Shall we take one more, Chris? Are you okay for
Yeah,
time?
I'm fine. Yeah,
Okay,
this
just
is
one
fun.
more from a LinkedIn user. So this was going back to the issue about competition and confidentiality. A common issue is not everyone within a group own the businesses they represent, and those people tend not to value Chatham House rules in the same way, or it's not in their radar, and so they cannot share info because they're not business owners themselves, so they can't share challenges the same way. What do you say to that?
Um, yeah, this is looking at where you've got people that are focusing on a topic um,
Hmm.
rather than running a business. So, agency local community is all about the business owner. Yeah. So what I was describing applies to what we do, and I get what you're saying about. One of the things I'm looking at is how do we, for the bigger agencies with a leadership team or with other, with a team, what can we do to help support that agency's, not just the owner but also the team members, um, and you're right. That is potentially a completely different conversation. So, you know, for example, if you're talking about operations or sales, then those people running that are doing those functions within an agency will have a very, very different conversation to the business owners together. But I think it's around setting the rules, and how you play and how you play in different groups, because that is really what sets out. You know,
So
how,
I guess in that context, the type of people who you invite into a room like that would matter. And so you, to a certain extent, curate the sort of people who would be contributing, because otherwise it's the wrong sort of people in the room and the conversation is not going to be very productive.
yeah,
At least coming from that one person who's not really, the business owner, for example, not singling out people who are not business owners, but I'm just saying the dynamics it does matter.
yeah, yeah. No, it does indeed, and people will be more open the more they get to know people, the more the trust is built. And
Hmm.
again, nice comment from Shandeep. It is about business. It's about personal relationships. You know,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah. Community is about building those relationships with people.
Yes, yes. And right. Thank you, Chandi, for that, for the comments. Very generous of you. Yeah. So finally, Chris, what's the best way for the audience to connect with you or to reach out to you? Let me just flash the QR code whilst you tell us how
Yeah,
to how they
you've
get a hold
answered
of you.
you've answered my own question. Yeah, the
Mm?
link on the QR code will give you links through to me. Honestly, if anybody wants to talk about anything that we've discussed today or wider issues, then
Hmm.
I live on LinkedIn. You can always get me on LinkedIn. I think I am the only Chris Bantock on there, so not that hard to find.
Quite easy to
For
find,
more
yes.
details around Agency Local, then there's always the website.
Mhm.
We're in the process of updating that, so that will become more current very shortly. But for now, all the events that we run are all listed on the website, details around membership and how to join
Mhm.
the community. So joining the overall community on Slack is completely free, and any agency owner can join that today.
Fantastic. So, if anyone out there, agency owners, agencies, if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed on LinkedIn, you need some help, don't know where to go to, there's too much content around, too many gurus, too many coaches telling you what to do, then come to Chris. Join Agency Local. Is that right, Chris?
That's spot on, Joyce. Spot on.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for joining us. I'm sure there'll be more people watching us at the replay as well. So thank you guys. It's been really great having you here today. And I'm going to end this off soon. And Chris, if you just stay with me for a minute, that would be fantastic.
Yep.
Bye for now.
Bye bye.